Hello there, how are you all doing tonight? Oh, sorry, busy throwing my toys around as I get settled in. So really, really nice to be here with you again, and to see what it is that comes up this week in terms of what it is that message would most, Spirit would most like us to pay attention to. And obviously we'll do the one-on-one readings for anybody who asks for a reading tonight. So beautiful space to be in. It's wonderful to have you all connected. It's just such an honor and a privilege for me to get to connect in the spirit and do this work with you. So very, very, very excited. So exciting news. You might have seen. Hello, Angela, my darling. So very exciting news for the cards is that the proofs have come in, so you can see these beautiful proofs that we've got. So now we are busy signing off on the final proofs. There's the sign-off form. So the cards are well on their way to being produced. It's very exciting. It's lovely to see it all coming alive. So if you're wanting your own set of cards, please make sure you there's a link there to buy them at the very special pre-order price. So right, tonight we get to do this beautiful weekly message from Spirit. And as always, and there's 3 parts to it, we're going to start off with the crystal for the week. And then I'm going to connect with my guides and see what it is they'd like to offer as a sort of message to whoever comes along this week. And as always, we'll do the 3 cards, and then I'll start doing the individual readings, which is always lovely to do. So please feel free to share this with your friends, invite others to come online. It's definitely time that we start getting these messages of love and healing and support out into the world. So make sure you share it with people and get your friends and family and loved ones and anybody you think that needs a boost from Spirit, because they are uplifting messages, to come and join us. So let's start with the crystal that came forward this week. And it's no surprise, I did a beautiful workshop this week called Advanced Energy Healing, where we were talking about accessing 5D consciousness. It was a profoundly powerful workshop. Some of you were on it that are on the call, so you experienced it, and we'll definitely be doing it again. Really, really magical. And certainly I can feel how my own energy has shifted from the workshop, and I know that others have felt it too. And so when I pulled the card for the crystal for tonight, it was no surprise to me. The crystal that came forward is the pearl, but what's more important is the pearl is linked to Kuan Yin. And Kuan Yin is one of the ascended masters that came forward very strongly this weekend in terms of us working with her, particularly about a concept called compassion. Compassion is really one of the highest forms of love that we have. And compassion is not about approval. Compassion is not about it transcends everything. So it transcends empathy. Compassion is the ability to see you, to notice, to just comfort, I think. And so the pearl is the sort of crystalline energy that aligns with Kuan Yin. And so working with pearls, whatever, if you happen to be lucky enough to have any pearls around you. And pearls are beautiful because they're these magnificent pieces of sand that have transformed into a beautiful pearl over time. And that's really us, as if we give ourselves some time and space, we can transform into something really magnificent too, if we allow ourselves to. One of the meditations we did this weekend, and I will share it sometime, was Kuan Yin came forward, and we did a beautiful meditation called Activating Your Personal Voice of Compassion. It was really profound to internalize Kuan Yin's voice of compassion, of kindness, so that there's a voice, because we all have a critic, but to soften that with a voice of compassion is really, really lovely and wonderful. Right, so let us see. I'm going to connect in with my guides, and I'm going to pull 3 cards for the group. And you can think of this as sort of like an energetic forecast. It's a bit of a message from Spirit that provides like a weather report of such for this week. And as always, there's 3 cards. What do we need to pay attention to this week? What needs to be noticed? The second card is what support is available for us this week. And the third card is what opportunities exist for us this week. So we'll see what these cards are that come up tonight. Right, hello to everybody who's online. I see you all saying hi, and just welcome you all. And it's lovely to share this space and time with you tonight. Right. Let us see what these guys would like to tell us tonight. What is it that's on the agenda for this week? Okay, so the card that comes forward in terms of what do we need to pay attention to this week is the card Everything Serves. Everything serves. And when we have a look at this card, we can see this guy standing here, and there's all these puzzle pieces falling down from the sky, and he's busy collecting them. And as he's collecting them, he's busy looking at them and trying to figure out what to do with them. And this is pretty much a great metaphor for our life. Is, you know, there are constantly pieces of the puzzle being given to us. You know, a piece of puzzle about our own life, and about the world, about the universe, about what's going on, etc., etc. And whilst we're all receiving the pieces of the puzzle, it's an important thing to kind of sit back and notice what that means. Is one piece will fit into something. There is, you know, if we're building a puzzle, if you've ever enjoyed building puzzles, then you would know that there's no piece of the puzzle that is not relevant. Even if we pick up the piece of the puzzle while we're building it and it looks ugly and we can't figure out where it fits, and we sit there and we're like, you know, how is this gonna, like, I don't even see where it goes in the picture. At some point it will, and at some point it will complete itself, and it will complete itself by connecting into other perspectives, into the other things. And when we see it in relation to other things, we get a perspective of it. And so sometimes we almost need to just honor that the perspective, the bigger picture, will be shown at some point in time, and to not discard the piece of the puzzle because it'll be needed. Now, if we use this, they're saying, as a metaphor, is that it really is about noticing what part of your life are you wanting to disregard, ignore, not pay attention to because you don't like it, or because you don't know what to do with it, or because you're not interested in it. And this is an important piece of the puzzle too. Anything you don't want to pay attention to, anything you don't want to look at, is as important as the things that you are paying attention to. Imagine if I built a puzzle and I only built it with the colors I liked. So the whole puzzle's there. I did like the whole picture when I bought the puzzle, but actually I just want to build the flowers. I don't want to build the shadow of the flowers. I don't want to take into account the sort of the parts, the ugly pieces. I just want to build with the pretty pieces. Well, you won't have a complete picture. In a huge way, you'll be missing out on a whole lot of stuff. So honoring the pieces of the puzzle of your life that you don't want to pay attention to is really, really important this week. And this requires honesty. It requires truth. It requires the sort of challenging energy of noticing and paying attention to things that you're ignoring. I was teasing on this workshop is that, you know, when people come into my room and they come for a reading or for a session, if somebody sits down and says, well, I don't want to talk about X, I don't want to talk about money, I don't want to talk about my relation, I don't want to talk about, then guess what the guides are going to bring up? The thing you don't want to talk about. Because why? It's the thing that needs to be paid attention to. It's the thing that needs healing. So notice what it is that you are resisting and avoiding, and bring it in, and notice that that serves you too. In another way, they want me to amplify this message with the following statement, because they're saying this is really, really important for many of you online to hear tonight. And if you happen to hear it afterwards, it's as important then, is that you serve. You are a piece of the grand scheme. You're a piece of the puzzle for the universe. And you are as important as any other piece of the universe. The gifts you have, the contributions you make, the knowledge you seek, all the things that you bring with you are part of the universal puzzle. And so every single human being on earth serves the bigger picture. And when we look at that pearl that was coming forward earlier, that sense of compassion, that sense of working with Kuan Yin, this is about the awareness and the noticing that nobody is disregarded. Nobody is more or less important than anybody else. There is a sense of equality, that everybody comes in the uniqueness of themselves and contributes to this grand scheme of life. And so when you can truly integrate this, self-esteem is no longer an issue. Because what is it that you are here to serve with? How is it that you are here to contribute? What is the piece of the puzzle that you contain? And you cannot be the piece of the puzzle that you are if you do not honor the uniqueness of you. If you keep comparing yourself to somebody else, well, then you're never going to see the beauty of you as the piece of puzzle that you are. So, okay, so that's what needs to be paid attention to this week. Sorry, I just want to close this. I have an app open here and it is sending me message, which is why I look distracted and I don't want to be distracted. Right, so what support is available for us this week? If everything serves and we need to start paying attention to things we don't want to pay attention to, what support is available for us this week is be brave. I think this is one of the most beautiful cards in the deck. We have this sort of warrior woman standing at the edge of this sort of field of possibility. I mean, it looks like it could be water, it looks like it could be sand, it could be anything. And she's standing there ready, but she's not fighting. She's just prepared for whatever comes her way. She looks centered, she looks calm, she looks like she knows what she wants to do. But this sunset or sunrise that exists here shows that we're at a time of transformation, a time of transition. You know, transition is always this sort of in-between place. And, if anybody would tell you the most dangerous time to drive, for example, is at twilight or at dawn, because this lighting is different. It's also beautiful, it's soft and it's amazing, but it's the time of transition. It's a time to move between one place and another. We move from day to night and night to day. And so that in-between place requires us to have a different level of skill. We need to focus on, the next step and what it is that we need to do next. And bravery is a very interesting thing because it's what we get taught by acknowledging our fear. If we never ever acknowledge our fear, we'll never ever know our brave. And that's a well-known statement. But what support is available for us this week is that as you pay attention to something you don't want to see, then you can get brave enough to notice what's the very next step to take. And bravery is always in the very next step. It's not in the outcome, it's in the first thing you need to do. If we look at the very first thing you need to do, that's the step that requires the most bravery. Because once you start, the next step will flow, but to start opens up sometimes a can of worms and deal with things. So to be brave, to access this peaceful warrior, prepared warrior, but not fighting. You don't need to fight. You just need to be brave enough to take the next step, whatever that step is. And again, if I use the metaphor of I have many clients coming to me, and one of the first things they say to me when I ask them what brings you to me, what gets you to sit in this chair in my room, is they say, I'm stuck. And the guides constantly give me this message. They're not stuck. They're just not brave. Yeah. In terms of being stuck, there's many clients or people that say, I don't know what to do. We all know what to do. We're just too scared to do it. And so, we have a sense of what the next step is. It just seems too frightening sometimes. And so that is one of the important things for us to do. So then, what opportunity exists this week? I laugh because, and it comes from the same suit of cards. So you'll see these cards have 7 suits, which come from my book, the 7 steps on how to surrender to your soul. So there's 7 techniques to surrender and expand your light in the world. And this is coming from the growth suit. And so the sacred geometry symbol there is the Fibonacci spiral. If we have a look at everything serves, it comes from a different suit, and that is from the seed of life. So this is also about expansion, but this is about growing in many ways. And so there's a growth cycle that's about that we're in. We're here to expand, to do something differently. And so when we look at what opportunity exists this week, we've got the synchronicity, see the signs. So synchronicity is one of the most misunderstood energies that's around. Synchronicity is not approval from the divine. You know, we can ask for, send me a sign so I know I'm doing the right thing. The divine is never going to say to you, you're doing the right thing or doing the wrong thing. That is interfering with your sense of personal choice, which is the free will gift you have. What synchronicity is, what signs are from the universe, is so much more about waking us up, because most of the time we go to sleep. We may sit in a meditation asking to be brave, for example, and then we just go to sleep and we unconsciously live our day with the same level of action and steps that we did the day before. And so when we get sounds from the universe, be it colors, numbers, messages through songs, I honestly think social media is a great way to get signs. Sometimes the divine often seems to send me messages that way. It could be a person saying something to you. It could be something that keeps repeating itself. These are not messages to say, well done, you're doing good, or you're doing the wrong thing. They are wake up, pay attention signs. So it's a call to consciousness. It's a call to pay attention. It's a call to stay awake. And that's what the divine is constantly doing, because most of our life we spend unconsciously just doing what's on autopilot. So as we notice what needs to be noticed this week, and we start taking the steps towards bravery, the opportunity the divine has is to keep you awake. Keep you awake to what is it that you need to be doing. And so it's like an alarm. It's like an alarm clock. Wakes you up. And so when you see 1111 everywhere, or when you see 333, or when you notice the same song being played, and certainly those that have crossed over love to send us signs as well. But again, it's a call to stay awake to them. It's a call to pay attention. It's a call to connect. It's a call to notice. It's not a sign of approval. It never is and never will be. All right, so there we go. Right, so let us see who would like a message tonight. So for those of you that are joining for the first time, the way it works is that you can ask for a reading, and if I get drawn to you, then I do a reading for you from your guides. I obviously cannot get through everybody, and the way that it works is the guides pull my attention to those whose messages are most going to serve the greatest good of the whole. So that means that you might get a message through somebody else's reading. So it's always worthwhile paying attention to somebody else's reading. So if you want, just keep asking. I do not scroll back up and look. If I don't call you, it's not because I don't see you or don't love you. That's really the way the guides work. But please keep asking. The more you ask, the more chance you have. So hang around and also pay attention to what other people's messages are. Right, Christine, let's start with you because you look like you need some support, my love. Christine, I feel like I want to sit in a corner and cry. My soul is tired. I'm so sorry, my darling. Okay. I'm sorry you're going through that. Let us see what your guides would like to tell you tonight, Christine. All right. Why did it not? You just pin it again. All right, Christine. So let us see. I've got to love this message, and I'm being told to show something else, so I will bring it in. Mind, body, heart, and spirit integration. Mind, body, heart, and spirit integration. The integration is probably the most important energy that we need from a healing perspective at this point in time. And if we think about integration, it is about harmony. It's about everything coming together and playing nice. Now, when we think about these four bodies that we have, the mind, the heart, the body, and the spirit, how do these four bodies come into a sense of harmony, a sense of unity? Is for us to, firstly, pay attention to all of them. What is, and some of you know this meditation. I've done it often, and I will offer it frequently because it's the most simple meditation. And for anybody who's online now, you can sit and do it because it's valuable. And Christine will get to the specifics for you now. But if you just simply connect in with yourself and you say the following things, and you say, "My body is," and see what answer comes up for you. "My heart is." my mind is, my spirit is, and I am. When we just simply connect in with ourselves and we answer ourselves on those 5 questions, my body is, my heart is, my mind is, my spirit is, I am. When we connect in all of these, the answers that you get are the answers that you need. And you've got to go with the first answer. Please don't analyze, just go with the first answer. And this gives you an integration aspect. It gives you a meditation, because all 5 of those answers are true. So my body might be tired, but my mind might be restless. Yeah. So you now say your soul is tired. Now, and your soul may well be tired because it's tired of being ignored. And that's the message that's coming forward, is that there are other things in your life you keep prioritizing above your soul, your spirit. Yeah. And so fear can dominate our lives, and that means that the physical is taking more attention, or the emotional. And so when you notice this relationship, one of my dear friends who does a lot of work with me, Angela, she's on here tonight, I think she does some full body work, and she was talking this weekend about how with the 4 bodies we bully each other. Yeah. And the bullying each other is like, which part of you is bullying the other part? Is your mind bullying your heart? Yeah. Is your spirit bullying your mind? Which one seems to have more dominance? And when we do this, things get flat, we get out of alignment. And so the ability to pull it all together. So Christine, the thing they give me the most for you is that your spirit is tired of being ignored. This is not a way of saying you're doing it wrong. This is just saying there's a call for attention. And a call for attention of saying, what are you not honoring in yourself? Yeah. And this, remember that everything serves, and to pay attention, and that be brave. What would be an act of love to your spirit or to yourself this week? What would be an act of self-care? There seems to be a tendency for you, Christine, to pay more attention to others and be quite external in the world, and there's a calling for attention on self. And most specifically, they're saying on fun. On when last did you enjoy yourself, have fun, which could be simply reading a good book, or watching a movie that makes you laugh, or eating a chocolate, if that's what you feel like doing for fun. I don't know. But provided it's about integration, about harmony, about pulling these things together. And they are giving that 5-step meditation to sit and do that and honor that and sit with it and see what needs to be integrated. So for those of you that didn't hear it, my body is, my heart is, my mind is, my spirit is, I am. And you can answer those questions. Oh, all right. So beautiful. Sending you a big, big hug. Yeah. Let us see who is next here. Yvonne Sudbury. Oh, the thing that was coming up is to work with the Ankh. The Ankh is a very beautiful sacred geometry symbol. The Ankh has come across for many lifetimes. The Ankh represents the breath of life in many ways, which is an integrative tool and has been used for healing. And so one of the things they asked me to share with you that I didn't is to even pay attention to playing with the Ankh, working with the Ankh in whichever way you want to. All right. It's a pleasure, Christine. Sending you lots of love. Yvonne, let us see what your guides would like to tell you tonight, Yvonne. All right, Yvonne, the cards come forward for you. Getting a lot of mixed vibes, she says, and I get this card. Coping is not the same as healing. Coping is not the same as healing. All right, so when we have a look at this card, Yvonne, the very first thing you're going to see is this girl down the bottom here, and she's got a mask, and I've got a happy face and a sad face going on. And it's a little bit of like that sort of, sort of what it is that is the truth. Is the truth the way I show up? Is the truth my happiness, or the truth my unhappiness, if that's put it, and I really am glibly putting it together in those things. And for you, they're saying specifically is that it's learning to trust what's behind all of these things. Is that, interestingly enough, this is the coping mechanism. This is what's needed, but behind this is what can be healed. And when I say behind this, it's sitting quietly and getting to what is your truth. And this is a really important question for you to reflect on, is what is your truth? And so if I had to put it this way, so let me try and explain it this way and see if that works. I had a client here today, and she was here because there's some conflict going on in her life. And the more guidance that was given to her about the part that she was playing in that, the more resistant she was to it. So the resistance was, but I'm right, but it's not that, but it's not working that way. And so sometimes we're quite attached to the way we're doing things in this point in time. And the reason she was behaving the way she is because she's scared. And it's the only thing she knows how to do. And so hearing the sort of truth of it was quite difficult because it puts her in a place of vulnerability and not knowing what to do. And so when there's a call for truth, it's really paying attention to the thing I don't want to pay attention to again. So again, we come back to that original reading tonight of Everything Serves. What is it you do not want to talk about, do not want to pay attention to? Because that's the very thing that is needed for you to focus on. And every behavior we have, every way that we are doing things in the world is a mechanism that we've learned. We've learned to respond to the world this way. And it may well be working, but it may not be bringing you joy. And so we need to then break up with the way we do things and recreate new strategies. Yvonne, for you specifically, that is where some of this sort of confusion is coming in. It seems to me the way your guides want to talk about it, particularly your male guide that's come forward, is there's like not knowing what to trust, not knowing who to trust, not knowing what is true and what is not, what is fact, what is fiction, what is going on. And so the more you can sit and you can go into not what's right and what's wrong, but what is truth. What is the truth? What is the truth? And if you need to, then get somebody to do a reading for you where they can give you a truth-speaking conversation, a dialogue of truth, for you to notice what needs to be undone for you to redo something. I hope that makes sense for you, my darling. Sending you lots of love. Right, Kelly. Kelly Cosfield Cooper. Kelly Cosfield Cooper. Right, let us see what your guides want to tell you. Okay, Kelly, the card that's come up for you is it's time to give up. It's time to give up. This card needs, I think this card comes up quite a lot on this readings, yeah? It's time to give up. If we have a look at this card, we see firstly it's in the suit about facing our fears. So it's the suit of stability. It's a suit of knowing you are safe. And so if we start to bring forward this idea of safety, that you are safe, the question would then come up, if you were safe, or what are you holding on to try and feel safe? And so like we all have our little security blankets, don't we? We all have the sort of things that are comforting and they support us, like some of us won't go out in the world if we're not wearing our crystals, or, if we're not, we need to be with a certain person, or we need to have a certain amount of money, or there's something we have that in our minds we've created a sort of sense of that gives us safety. It doesn't. It's a tool, but it doesn't actually bring about that sense of safety. And so these become sort of dependencies, and they can even be sort of things that can uplift us, but they can be things that keep us sort of in a fearful place. So the question your guides are asking you is, what would you need to honor that you're maybe using to try and give you safety? A person, a role, something that there's a dependency on or attachment to feeling safe because of that. And that sort of thing is something you may need to notice, because this can become something that's not always serving you. So let me, I'm not sure if this is about relationships for you, but I keep getting a relationship kind of energy, as I work with many people who are unhappy in a relationship, but won't leave the relationship because they feel safer in the world in a relationship than out of it. So they don't want to be alone, or they don't want to be single. And then that relationship in itself now has become the burden. It's become the thing that's trapping you. And so it's not so much about the relationship, it's about your dependency on the relationship that may be holding you back. Now, like I said, I'm not sure if it is relationship for you, but there's a lot of relationship energy that's coming forward. So what is it that if you gave it up, you would find your freedom, you would fly? You know, if we have a look at this, once we cut this barbed wire fence, the barbs become the sort of bird's wings, and the bird can fly off. And so we can sometimes keep ourselves quite small and keep ourselves quite trapped into something that's not useful. So there you have it, Kelly. I hope that makes sense for you. Definitely tonight there are tougher readings, it seems like the guides are giving. So if you were paying attention at the beginning of the night with the everything serves and the be brave, they certainly are repeating that pattern through tonight. It's like, what do you need to be paid? Like, get brave about facing. What is it? And really the intention when they do that is because you're ready to fly. You're ready to soar, you're ready to grow, you're ready to expand. The work's been done. Now we need to just deal with some of this stuff, yeah? All right, Shalane, how are you, my darling? Nice to see you on here for a change. The guides have said I must give you a reading, so let's see what your guides would like to tell you tonight. All right. Okay, Shalane, the card that's come forward for you is wholeness. Embrace all the parts of you. And we can see the yin-yang. There's yin-yang there, and we've got the yin-yang here. But the wholeness, the embrace all the parts of you is coming forward very specific for you. When we look at this yin-yang, we get the fire and the water. And the fire and the water represent masculine and feminine energies. And so that's within ourselves. The masculine energy is the energy of structure and logic and, definitiveness and, courage and standing in our truth and all these things. The feminine energies are sensuality, our intuition, our nurturing, our softness. And so the masculine's got almost this toughness to it, and the feminine's got this softness to it. And when we can get the blend of soft and tough, we can get to assertiveness, we can get to, truth speaking, we can get to the sort of sense of courage. And they're saying to me that there's a out of balance of the masculine to feminine energy, not externally. This is not a male-female energy, it's not a sexuality thing, it's an internal thing of embracing the parts of you that you don't want to embrace. And so if we look at it and we say the masculine energy is quite a sort of giving energy, it's a creating energy, it's a making energy. The feminine energy is quite a receptive energy, it's a gentle energy, it's an allowing energy. So this is a pushing and this is an allowing. This is a defining and this is a receiving. And when we can get the giving and receiving in balance, then we can come back to wholeness. So Shalane, they're kind of asking to sit back and have a look at, like, where's it out of whack? Are you more comfortable giving than you are receiving? And this could be in terms of love, this could be in terms of commitments, it could be in all sorts of things, but there's an out of balance with this. And to look at the part that you're in resistance to and to bring that in and to notice what that offers. And the part we're in resistance to often brings with it some level of vulnerability. Right, so I hope that helps, my darling. It's nice to connect with you. Tiffany Jones. Tiffany Jones. Load shedding ain't stopping me. Ready for my reading. Okay, for those of you that may be overseas, load shedding is our lovely Eskom who looks after our electricity in South Africa, can't supply the demand. So they have these forced shutdowns. Yeah, so it's a lovely thing. It asks us to disconnect out load shedding. Everything serves. So, we get to have dinner by candlelight every now and again. All right, get intimate with your fear. Get intimate with your fear. Sure, the guides are certainly asking us to pay attention to some stuff today. All right, so Tiffany, let's see how your guides want to talk about this to you. Your female guide is the one that's coming forward. And she seems to be coming forward as like this sort of, if you think of something like a rancher, like somebody who's on a sort of farm or a ranch. So they're really giving a ranch, which is more of an American way of talking about it. But that's what they're giving. And there's all these wild horses around. And this woman steps forward and she's got all these wild horses and she's got the lasso. And as she's lassoing it, the idea of lassoing it and throwing it and catching the horse and then holding and pulling this sort of horse to you. Now, I love the way the guides come in and do these things. So when she talks about this, she says, it takes quite a lot of skill to stand still enough and quiet enough in the eye of all this commotion and movement to be able to spin that lasso at exactly the right thing and then know when to throw it and know when to catch it. So the only way that we can actually navigate it is by staying still and staying calm. If I'm surrounded by all these horses, they're saying, and I start running around too, and I start running away or running through this or doing these things or very fearful, I actually just amplify the energy of chaos. But when I can stand still and I can just connect with my breathing and the lasso, and I can connect in with it and I can watch what's going on, and then I can send it out and I can rein it in when I need to, there's power. There's profound power in being calm in the eye of the storm. And in order to do this, we need to acknowledge our fear, but know that there's a part of us that transcends it. And this is the way your female guide's talking about it. She says, it's like you're in a situation where there's a lot going on around you, a lot of moving parts, a lot of things going on. The more you try and run to and move to and do all these things, the more you will lose energy. But the minute, and you'll do that because you're scared. You'll do that because, what else do you do? But the minute you can breathe, calm, and look at which one do I want to catch? What do I want to focus on? Focus on one thing at a time. Don't let your fear get you into panic, because that's going to distract you from your power. So I hope that makes sense for you, Tiffany. Let me know if you need more information. Pleasure, Shalane. I'm glad it does. All right. All right. Heather Stroop. What do your guides want to tell you tonight? What is it that your guides would like to share with you? All right, Heather. Oh, all these cards that are coming forward tonight, they certainly are wanting us to pay attention to stuff, yeah? You are not being punished. I'm not sure if any of you have noticed, but the last few cards are all from the same suit, and it's the suit of safety. It's a suit of knowing you are safe and to release fear. Oh, something happened here. All right, so Heather, the way that your guides come forward with you not being punished, let's connect in with them and see how they want to talk about this. Your female guide is the one that's coming forward, and she comes forward with a sort of I don't know why she's coming forward like this, but let's play with it and see how it unfolds. She's coming forward like she's working in a dry cleaner. So I've never seen this before, so it's always fascinating to me. So she kind of shows herself as working in a sort of dry cleaning place. So dry cleaners, people bring in their dirty laundry, you wash it and clean it, you iron it, you make it beautiful again, and you send it out into the world. And so just because it's dirty doesn't mean there's something wrong with it. It can be cleaned, and it can be looked after, it can be mended, it can be fixed up, and it can be made as good as new. And this is what the sort of alchemy of a dry cleaner is, she says. I mean, who knew that Spirit's going to talk about dry cleaning? But anyway, so the metaphor of this is that where there's things in your life that seem like they're dirty and broken and not working, etc., etc., it's not about them no longer being useful or not being valuable. It's more about what does it need, what attention does it need for it to be restored to its beauty and to its original form, and to something that is workable, wearable again. Now, if we take this forward to the way that they are talking about this for you, is that the idea that, you know, something is wrong about you, or something is, you know, that like, you know, it's, there's some, the only words I get is there's something wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you. And there's nothing going on that is they've been done to you to punish you for anything. But there may well be some aspects of yourself that are calling for some love, calling for some attention, calling for some, like a good old scrub, like a good old cleaning up. Not cleaning up because it's, you know, it's broken or it's wrong, just because it hasn't been paid attention to. And when we can pay attention to that which we haven't paid attention to, then we can, and remember the earlier reading if you were here. And so here they're kind of going like, please notice where there are things that you may not like going on in your life, where you think it's wrong and you think it's not working. And when you change the story from this is a punishment, I must have done something wrong in my past life, or, you know, clearly I'm doing something wrong. If you can change that story as to what do I need? What attention do I need to clean this up, to shine this up, to do this? And sometimes it needs to go into a process of being supported, like a dry cleaner would support us when we need to clean our clothes. So that is the message coming forward with you. I just love how Spirit work, that they will use dry cleaning as an example. I mean, isn't it fascinating and funny, really? All right, Lorianne, let us see what your guides want to tell you. Lorianne, so if you still would like a message, keep asking. I'll be online for another 10 to 15 minutes, so I'll try and get through as many as I can. But if you're paying attention to other people's readings, the way the guides come forward and talk about things are beautiful messages of healing and love and support for anybody that is listening. So let yourself be. All right, Lorianne. So I'm not sure if you've been online since the beginning of the readings. If not, it's well worth going and listening a little bit later on to what I shared at the beginning, because the card that you've got is Everything Serves. So your question is about some health issues. And so when you get this, is the question is, how is whatever is going on for you from a health perspective serving you? You know? And this is an interesting one to get our minds around, so to speak, is that if we understand that illness and disease serves us too for something, it offers us a perspective. Sometimes it's asking us to love ourselves more, to rest, to get some self-care, sometimes asking us to receive, sometimes asking us to drop the need to be independent and let yourself be cared for. Sometimes it's asking you to slow down. Sometimes it's asking you to speed up because there are some illnesses that come from not doing enough. So there's so many different aspects of this. And when we can love the sort of discomfort, which doesn't mean we give it the sort of permission to continue. What we do is, interestingly, love will heal it. I had one woman once, and they're asking me to share this as a way of describing this card to you. She came into a session, into a room, and she was very angry because she was running, and she'd been a runner, and her knee was sore. And so her knee was not getting better. And for quite a bit of the session, she would complain about it, like it's slowing me down, and it's wrong, and it shouldn't be there, and when is it going to get better, etc., etc. And the way the guides spoke about it, they said, it's never going to heal if you talk to it that way. You're punishing it for being sore, as opposed to loving it and asking it what it needs and asking you how to heal it. And so the guidance that was given to her was to please put her hand on her knee and to take 3 breaths and to connect in with the pain in her knee and to ask it what it needed. And the answer that came forward is a break. And she said, what does a break look like? And I said, I don't like running. Can we do something more gentle, please? Now, this wasn't the guides talking, it was her body talking to her. Is that the reason she was running is she was running because she wanted to compete with other people. She wasn't running because her body was a runner. And so her body was calling for something more gentle, like swimming or like something else. And so she did. She listened. And she started doing other exercises. And her knee healed up like this. And so when we start to see that everything serves, including some of the really, really difficult diseases, which is not what I'm seeing there's almost just discomfort going on for you. There's a call to notice what it is. Okay, all right, so there you go. I've done this and I'm headed for surgery. The biggest thing I get for you, Lorianne, is to trust and rest and let yourself receive what it is that you need. Your body's asking you to receive support and receive love. So I hope that makes sense for you, my love. It's not something to be resisted, angry with. It's about embracing it and noticing, how do you receive the love, the healing, the support that you need? Okay. All right, let us see what's coming up here. All right, so Amber, I'm just going to talk about your questions here. I'll do a reading for you, but they're not going to answer the specific questions you have, I don't think. Let me just get it there again. All right, so if we have a look at your question, Amber, I would love a reading, please. Either like to know if I will have kids soon or at all, or just a general reading, maybe if my love life is going right, like if me and my husband will last. Now, the reason I say I'm talking about your questions is that if you're working with people that are coming from the light, they are never going to predict your future. They will tell you what's going on for you that needs healing at this point in time. So nobody knows what the future is about any relationship because there's too much free will involved. There's free will on your part and his part and all these sorts of things, so that we can give a reading for you around what's going on around your relationship and give a reading around, will you have children or not? Do you want them or not? And that sounds simplistic in the answer. There's a little bit more complexity for it. But I bring that up because it's really just a useful perspective for all of us to know, is that guidance comes in the form of love and support of what's going on in the now, not in the prediction of the future, and certainly not in telling you what will happen in the future. Because when we have the prediction of the future, what you going to do with it? And it's only based on the current. Everything can change in a heartbeat. You could hear a reading now and you could make a different choice, and then you shift your vibration, your frequency, and you shift your future. So there's so much more to getting guidance than getting certainty about the future, if that makes any sense. And so they kind of want to give you a message of what it is that you can pay attention to at this point in time and to see what comes up for you. The card I've pulled for you is Judgment Keeps You Separate. Judgment keeps you separate. And so when we have a look at this card, I think it's one of the most powerful images, because we've got these two people looking at each other, clearly wanting to connect, they're trying to build a bridge, but the bridge has been broken down, and there's this gap that is existing here, which means it's harder to connect across here. And this bridge is created through judgment. And judgment is, it's something we all do. It's something that's natural. We don't need to judge our judgment. Okay, I'll tell you about that now, sweetheart. I just saw your message. I'll tell you about that now. Is the judgment that keeps you separate is the idea of something being right and something being wrong. So if one thing is right and another thing is wrong, this is a construct that we use to try and sort things out. And so when we live in this is right and that is wrong, and the analysis of somebody being right, something being wrong, circumstance being right, circumstance being wrong, things being right, things being wrong, it means that we're separate. We remove ourselves from the intimacy of the current moment, and we remove ourselves from the intimacy of healing, and we remove ourselves from the intimacy of growing from it. And so it's a way of keeping ourselves on the outside of something. And so this is what keeps us separate from what's going on in our life. So when your guides come forward, and your female guides coming forward when she talks about the having children, she says the amount, she's not giving me an answer of whether you will or won't, because she says that's not useful, not relevant. What she does want to do is offer you a perspective of what needs to be paid attention to at this point in time that may support you in your life at this point in time. And she said, with this judgment keeps you separate, there's this constant reflection of yourself that there's something wrong with you because you haven't had children. So almost, remember, if you were on earlier, I was talking about the 4-body system. It's almost like a bullying your body. There's this idea you have that there must be something, and so there's a judgment of you being wrong, of you being bad, of your body not being right, or your husband's. I'm not sure which one it is. They seem to show me it's more about you than about him. And so this keeps you, if you think about constantly being judged, if you walk into a room and people are judgmental towards you, critical towards you, what do? We shut down. And when we shut down, we withdraw. And when we withdraw, we get, more closed. And so when you're judging yourself, criticizing yourself, your body responds in the same way. It shuts down. And so if we think about the energy for falling pregnant, it's a receptive energy, it's an opening up, it's a receiving energy. And so this is why so many, and there is karmic reasons that some people don't have children, and it's all these sorts of things, but when we're looking from a physical perspective, the relationship between perfectionism and beating ourselves up because we're not right and we're not doing it right impacts the body physically in terms of it closing down, especially when we're judging our own selves and our own femininity in this case. And so one of the things your female guide wants to bring in is to make love to yourself, is that if there has not been the opportunity for children as yet, how does that serve you? There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing broken. There's nothing bad. It's also not good. It's also not nice. It's also not right. It's neither of these things. It is. And in the isness, you can embrace, what do you need? What love do you need? What support do you need? How do you receive the attention you need at this point in time? All right, so sending you love, and to notice how it is that you can soften into less judgment of yourself. All right, perfect. So we are going to end it here tonight. We are now at 8:30. As I've said, here are the proofs for the cards. The cards are being, so if you enjoyed seeing these cards, the cards are now the cards that I've channeled through from the divine. They are at the printers and the pre-orders are ready at a very discounted rate. So if you'd like your own set of cards at a discounted rate, and you can click on the link and get it. There's also a podcast that I have, which is called Pick 3 Cards, and every week we release information about the cards, and you can scan through and pick a card and listen to a podcast and or find it on YouTube to find the video, so you can receive guidance whenever you want. You can go and intuitively pick a card that you need and go and listen to a message about it and get a message from there. Sending you all so much love. Looking forward to connecting with you next week. Until then, be brave. Sending you love. Namaste. I don't know why I can't see that. Okay.